Hey guys, and welcome to Video Game Talk right here on Shoppers. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about, including new Halo Master Chief Collection details, Ubisoft stuff, Activision stuff, and is Battlefield 5 getting announced next week? All this and more coming up next. That's the wrong intro. There it is. And you'll notice that it says GGN is going to use AVG team. We'll get to that soon. Hey, that was our professional intro. Anyways, so G,
are you going with that?
I'm going with that. That's what we're going to do. No more retakes. Garrett, what are we doing today? What are we talking about first? What do you want to cover?
I mean, we're talking about the video game industry, as we often do.
Oh my god.
But I'm going to start off with a favorite topic of mine, and it's how Richie loves to drift out of frame. I give him a whole room to work with in my house. I give him a whole room, you know, to slide around as needed. I give him the control over the camera swivel, and he still ends up completely out of frame, which is weird for someone who loves attention as much as he does. You know?
I don't love attention. You know, I just named the channel after myself and have to be in every video, but hey.
Hey. You guys want to talk about some AAA titles? Because apparently that's the stuff worth talking about this week. It's a hot and sort of, it's a debated issue within my mind. I am wrestling with a lot of these sort of things and whatnot, but I have to remind myself not to be salty because this is what E3 usually is. This is what E3 season is typically. It's a lot of big AAA releases.
Right, and as you guys know, we talked ad nauseum about that Walmart leak that happened last week. And, you know, companies are kind of reacting to that accordingly, especially Bethesda.
Bethesda in a big way. Yeah, we had speculated a lot last week as to the idea of, like, what is the credence and what is the legitimacy that we are to give this leak? To what degree are we to assume, or to what evidence do we have to act on in that, like, this leak is legitimate? And, you know, a lot of the titles being listed here will emerge in some way. Will all of them be mentioned? Will some of them? Are these placeholders? I threw out a lot of possibilities. Well, literally immediately after the leak, Bethesda started just rampantly ramping up its social media game, leaned very, very, very hard into its, you know, sort of its Twitter game, released a whole lot of little, you know, just spot spoilers and
all about
teasers,
Rage 2.
And then subsequently released a smorgasbord of Rage 2 content, including gameplay trailers, other stuff that they had. They had some live action trailers.
Like, you know, I like them because they didn't want to play like the whole hush hush game that Ubisoft is doing, and we'll get to them in a second.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Bethesda's just been like, oh yeah,
well,
it's
to be fair, most
happening.
people do what Ubisoft does, and the idea that they just kind of keep their cards to the chest, because that's the idea. And honestly, if I were running a game company, I'd think about that, because on one hand, you don't want to give leaks legitimacy. You don't want to allow someone to be. You don't want to create an environment where, like, a leak happens and you encourage it by, you know, or sort of even unintentionally encourage it by sort of being like, yep, that leak was right. Here you go. Here's that info, you know.
On Bethesda's hand, the only thing that was leaked from them was Rage 2, and it makes me think that they have a lot more that Walmart didn't know about, because Bethesda is going to have a huge presence at E3 this year. I think they have their own stage for the first time in like 2 or 3 years, you know, since they made that.
You don't typically see anything but the largest developers with their own stage.
They had
Microsoft.
It was
their own stage.
E3 2015 was the last time that Bethesda really had a huge presence. They had the big stage, and they had, you know, Bethesda Land and things, and you know,
fucking Bethesda Land and things.
Well, actually, Bethesda Land, the thing might have been E3 2016, but the stage they had for 2015 was great. Because, you know, they announced, you know, Fallout, and, you know, they were like, guess what, guys? Fallout 4 is happening, and it's coming out in 4 months, and you're getting Fallout Shelter today. It was, like, the greatest thing ever. So,
that was a well-executed release.
Yeah.
That was how you do it.
I'm thinking they're being so open about Rage 2, and like, yeah, Rage 2 is happening here, because they've got some bigger things to announce at E3.
Yeah, but that is also kind of how they do. They like their social media presence and their marketing to seem very much like, we're just one of the guys, we're the kooky wild card developer, like, you don't know what's going to happen, you know, kind of thing. And I think that, so I will say, something happened outside of Bethesda control, this leak. And as much as it's not necessarily what I would have done if I were in the seat, I think they've made the better decision, better than I would have made, to stay on brand, to be true to themselves, and to really just sort of, like, release things, you know, and just to kind of be like, yep, that's true, you found us out, here you go, here's some dope video game shit. And I mentioned before, Rage 2 is not the announcement I was hoping from them. And I'm going to get the Sourpuss thing right out of the way. Rage 2 trailers haven't yet shown me anything that I'm really super mega stoked for. So that's kind of the downside, is I'm really hoping that Bethesda has more up their sleeve, because right now I'm kind of like, all right, Rage 2 looks solid. Like a 7 out of 10 shooter. You know, it looks like id Entertainment. But I really have to commend their marketing efforts, because that was executed well in the face of an unexpected mistake.
I think it's all great, because I think that's all distraction while they're actually preparing like a huge trailer for like their sci-fi game.
Yeah, see, but you like shit like this. You like to believe that's like, it's a red herring! Rage 2 is a red herring! You know, I know you and I get super wound up and, you know, late at night. We're like, what if Rage 2 is totally false, and it's just, they're just gonna pull the banner down, it's gonna be like a Star Wars game!
Yeah, that'd be hilarious if like Rage 2 wasn't even happening at all.
Yeah, it's like, who? No, Rage tanked! Rage tanked! We're never making another Rage game! We're making Star Wars games now! It's just like, something like this.
I do think that Rage 2
my head would blow up. My ears would fall off of my head, my eyeballs would roll back, my teeth would fall up, my head would turn into a gumball.
I do think that Rage 2 is happening, because that's all Bethesda publishing, but we do know that some major development news is going to be happening here at E3, and I do think that what's the name of the sci-fi game?
Starfield.
Starfield. I do think we're going to get a huge trailer and announced like date, like a release date for that game.
You think? I mean, that's not typical of them.
It'll probably be like next year at some point, but I think we are going to get a big trailer and release date, and I do think we're going to get just the smallest tease of Elder Scrolls 6. Just the smallest tease.
I disagree. I completely disagree. I think we are so far out from Elder Scrolls 6.
But they know that like nerds are like,
yeah. I've heard from a lot of people recently the whole like, and I disagree with it, but I've in and amongst conversations with other people whose opinions I trust, more than a few of them have brought up the idea of like, Elder Scrolls might be in its final days because like MMOs are where a series go to die, and I hear that brought up all the time. It's like, oh yeah, you guys been enjoying all those other Warcraft games that came out, you know, that incredibly successful franchise, but it's because MMOs are where franchises go to die. But I just, you know, I don't know. I don't feel that's the case, and I do believe there's an Elder Scrolls 6 on the horizon, but it is so like Bethesda. They don't talk about things until they're ready.
It's like,
and there's no way they can have Rage and Starfield and like Elder Scrolls like just like, oh yeah, we got them all right here. We got stuff to tell you about all the. No way. I just don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong too. But you're right. I was really looking forward to Warcraft 4, which they completely dropped after like the second year of World of Warcraft because they were making so much money on World of Warcraft.
Yeah, no, I don't blame them for that because the RTS market was drying up very quickly. They knew they were going to try to encapsulate that with StarCraft.
They did finally give us StarCraft 2, which was dope. But I
want to say at some point they were probably planning on a World of Warcraft MOBA.
Yeah.
Like an actual like MOBA in order to capitalize on the success of Defense of the Ancients, Dota, which was originally a Warcraft 3 mod. And saw popularity as a Warcraft 3 mod and really was sort of the DayZ of its day where people were buying a video game specifically to mod it to play another game.
I think they compensated us a little bit with Heroes of the Storm.
I was going to say, I think at some point the idea turned into Heroes of the Storm. That's my theory.
Like, all of Blizzard. All of Blizzard.
And you know what? I love the fuck out of Heroes of the Storm. So it's like, bingo! So.
You know, it could even be, well, actually, that's a separate conversation. But yeah, about Bethesda, though, yeah, I do think we're going to hear, even if it's just the tiniest whisper of, like, you know...
I would like some assurance.
It's just going to be...
I would love some assurance.
We're just going to see, like, the 4K resolution elf just be like, whoa, with, like, a, you know, big fire spell. It's going to be like, Elder Scrolls 6, coming whenever we feel like it, you know, and just...
Yeah.
They'll just give us something. Yeah, it won't come out for years, but they need to give us something.
I know. It's so untypical
something
of them
Fallout, anything Fallout would be nice, you know.
I think we're still a long ways out for anything Fallout, Richard.
But anyways,
let's not make this wishful thinking hour.
All right, let's talk about Ubisoft. So Ubisoft, they have what is to be a legendary booth at E3. In fact, they spent a record-breaking amount of money on their booth this year at E3. So after Assassin's Creed
and Far Cry money.
Yeah. No. After Splinter Cell and Assassin's Creed both kind of got leaked in the Walmart, and of course it didn't specify which Assassin's Creed, just Assassin's Creed. So
and Ubisoft didn't really specify what Splinter Cell either.
Ubisoft has said that they do have a franchise title coming out before the end of the fiscal year, and you know the fiscal year ends, you know, May 31st or March 31st of next year. That's how a fiscal year works, guys. I know it's weird.
Tax season, folks.
Yeah.
Businesses look at their years based on tax season.
Right. So, anyways, that means that we are definitely guaranteed a Assassin's Creed or a Splinter Cell before that time, and I'm sure they're going to make the formal announcement at E3, but they're not really like opening up like Bethesda is about what it is and, you know, embracing that and everything. I do believe, just like the guys over at IGN right now, that we're going to get both of those games before the end of the fiscal year.
Very possible.
And, you know, Ubisoft just being very tight-lipped because, guys, they've put literally millions of dollars into their booth at E3. I think that they'd feel pretty shoddy if they, like, all that went with that Walmart leak, you know. So they've got a lot of really neat attractions planned over there, and
cool. I look forward to seeing what their booth is about. Unfortunately, Assassin's Creed isn't a franchise that I've really been... has really carried a lot of emotional weight for me since Black Flag. Since Black Flag, and Splinter Cell never really grabbed me after the first one.
I think I might have mentioned this last week. I really liked like the first 2 or 3 Splinter Cells, and then I think the series kind of went meh.
It's not a bad series,
but
it
you
just
see,
didn't grab me.
I'm trying to remember what's the main character's guy. What's the name of the main character? Do you remember his name? He's appeared.
Sam Fisher?
Yeah, Sam Fisher. He's been in like Rainbow Six, you know, and like he shows up all the time in other Tom Clancy stuff. You know, it's just like
great,
you know,
great, love it. Yeah,
which
and
is
Rainbow,
great.
and they won't, you know, and the Tom Clancy's like Rainbow Six stuff and like the stuff that is cascaded off of Rainbow Six is all, you know, that's very good and whatnot.
It's too bad that every time they've tried to start, because those, by the way, if you guys have never read a...
Siege is a hell of a game.
Yeah. If you guys have never actually read a Tom Clancy novel, they're actually pretty dope. It's just unfortunate, every time they try to start a movie about it, it usually doesn't pick up. They did like Some of All Fears with, you know, what's his face? I can't remember right now, and it didn't work out.
Was it what, Denzel?
No. It was Morgan Freeman and, you know... Oh my God! What my brain
This
today.
is your area of expertise, man. I'm not going to be helpful here.
It was Ben Affleck, and then they recently did that new one with Chris. One of the Chris's. There's so many Chris's in Hollywood now. Chris Pine from Star Trek. He was in the newest one, and it also didn't do very well. The only time it's ever really worked out was with Harrison Ford with Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games.
Those were 2 bang-up movies.
Yeah, and those are great.
Awesome.
But then they you know. He didn't want to do it anymore. And
I
also,
want to say
in the 80s, the Hunt for Red October was also another one.
Shoot.
That was
yeah,
the first
I forget
one.
that's Clancy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was also one hell of a movie.
Because the guy makes great stories.
He does, but you know what? There's stories that were never made for a cinematic audience because they are informational. They are drawn out. You know, like Tom Clancy was a master of spinning like just intricate threads of tension through the most absolutely interpersonal conversations in ways, and spinning words and worlds and consequence through just these tiny little interactions. He would repeat that over and over, and it would build to this beautiful climax that's incredibly difficult to do in the 2 hours that a movie really spans and whatnot. Thankfully, like, you know, Clear and Present Danger, Hunt for Red October had so much consequence to them that it was easy to kind of keep people going, but it, you know, I think about that about Splinter Cell a lot. And the idea that Splinter Cell is a lot of very minute, sort of tense moments that builds to a big conclusion. In that regard, it's a very accurate representation of the Clancy style. I just haven't enjoyed it as a video game all that much.
Yeah, and between the movies tend to focus on the character of Jack Ryan,
right?
And then the games are just like the action parts of it, you know, with other characters kind of weaving in and out.
Oh, that's fine.
I feel like, but you know, to be completely honest with you, I think that those stories work best as novels.
To be fair, Tom Clancy, if you're gonna make a case for like, let's take a look at something where the book is best. It's just, probably Clancy.
The thing is, it's just like Crichton's books are also extremely informational, but somehow directors like Spielberg found ways to turn those into entertaining movies. You know?
Right. Well, they went way off the beaten path.
Yeah, you'd have to get way off.
Yeah.
But you can. Anyways, we went way off topic. But the point is, we were talking about.
That Sphere movie was garbage, though.
I think we got on this because we were talking about Black Ops, right? So I don't even know if we mentioned like the big zinger with this whole thing yet.
Oh yeah, the zinger, folks.
It's official. We were talking about the possibility of this. They've just announced that Black Ops 4 will have a huge battle royale system.
What? To the surprise of some people.
And they're calling it Blackout, so it'll be Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Blackout. So everyone who was really
Black
pissed...
Ops 4 Blackout?
Yeah.
It's actually kind of fun to say. Say it to yourself
Black Ops 4 Blackout.
Black Ops 4 Blackout.
So we were all pissed that Black Ops 4 did not have a story mode, and now I think we kind of get it. This is where they're putting all their effort is into this huge Battle Royale system.
Right.
And I was watching the announcement trailer.
We talked about this. We talked about, like, do you think it's going to be Battle Royale? Do we think it's going to be Battle Royale? Like, and guess what? It's Battle Royale.
Yeah, but apparently it's boasting the biggest Battle Royale map ever because, you know, Activision and all their money. I mean, it's going to be this huge map with skyscrapers and people just, you know, you're going to be hanging off of buildings, and it'll probably be the best Battle Royale experience ever. But I was talking to Garrett a little bit about this earlier. Is this too little too late, or will it just completely saturate this Battle Royale thing and be the death of it? Maybe none of those things will be true, but either way, it just seems like maybe Activision should have just made a Battle Royale game and left Call of Duty alone, but
I actually disagree with that, because what do I see in Call of Duty? I see Call of Duty as a fun, but ultimately extremely derivative series that is incredibly repetitive. I mean, the Call of Duty experience for generations now has been very similar. And I actually, even though that this is a breakout into a very safe space, you know, the very successful you know, Battle Royale sort of motif and genre, well, that is a very known and very safe space for development, I actually do enjoy the fact that Call of Duty's done something different.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's neat. And, you know, I put some hours in Call of Duty multiplayer. About 200, actually, at this point. About 215. So, which is not a lot in comparison to a lot of people, but that's enough to, you know, it's enough to kind of feel out the scene.
I can see where, you know, from a business point of view, they definitely think that this is the trend, and it is. And they definitely need to do what they can to keep the franchise relevant and alive. And, you know, I'm sure it's going to be a blast. I haven't purchased a Call of Duty game in a long time. This might get me to get it.
Fallout, it's weird because in a weird backwards double like rebound sort of way, I'm now thinking about getting Black Ops 4. Initially, I was like, I wasn't really thinking about getting it. Maybe for the single player. Oh, no single player? For sure not getting it. They're like Battle Royale, and I'm like, oh.
It makes me wonder what other crazy Battle Royale announcements are we going to get at E3 this year?
Oh my god, can we get a bingo card? Can we get a bingo card and like keep it up on the Discord and just be like, hey guys, it's Battle Royale announcement bingo!
You just wait. Todd Howard is going to get on stage at the Bethesda booth and be like, guys, Wasteland Rumble.
Oh man. It's going to be the Rage 2 Battle Royale mode. Oh man. I did talk about this with Rich a little bit before the show, just about how like this motif, this idea, this Battle Royale thing that's really been taken off recently. And just the concept of, and I don't really know the answer to this question, so I would spin this to the audience a bit and see what you guys thought. When something like this, especially something that was born of kind of the indie scene, when it reaches AAA legitimacy, like when a AAA game like really comes into play in a big way and brings like an idea that was previously an indie title and has kind of been hiking up in budget and whatnot, when a AAA title comes out from a company like Activision that encompasses one of these things, I often feel like that's kind of where it goes to die in that whole thing. And I wonder if this idea that like now all these AAA developers are coming in with Battle Royale games, that we're going to finally see in some meaningful way like the end of the AAA. Or not the end of the AAA, but the end of Battle Royale. And that's a curious observation, at least in that sort of sense. Because I can't imagine indie developers, you know, coming out in a big way and being able to compete like with all the bells and whistles that like an Activision-style developer is like throwing down. So, I don't know. If this is it, if this is like the big, you know, climatic reaching point of Battle Royale games, I think I'm okay with that. In a weird sort of backwards, I can't even believe it. I'm looking forward to Black Ops 4 a little bit now.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
And I hate it because on one hand,
we were like, nah, and now
on one hand, I was so ready to punch him in the face for being like, Call of Duty multiplayer only. Oh my god, you sold out the one part that I like, and I'm already tired of Battle Royale games. And I'm like, Call of Duty Battle Royale. This might be okay. All right. It's weird. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good, but you know what? It's on my radar again.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I guess the one last thing that we have to talk about is, and we don't have much to talk about because they've really only announced the announcement, and that's Battlefield 5.
Right, yeah.
Trevor Noah, host of The Daily Show, somebody who I wouldn't imagine is typically involved in the major announcements for a company like EA Games, but took to Twitter the other day to announce that he is involved and the figurehead of the release of Battlefield 5.
It's really interesting that they're calling this the reveal. They're like, the reveal for Battlefield 5 is next week. And it's just like, isn't that in itself the reveal if you're revealing the reveal? I mean, we know
it's weird because it's like, I mean, I don't know. We've made trailers for trailers before, but
yeah,
that being said, this is very much that. It's just like, all right, guys, stay tuned for this. Also, like, this is a show of, this is gratuitously commercial in my mind.
Yeah.
You got the Daily Show host going out for EA Games and announcing the Battlefield 5 reveal. That's like that's like very commercialized for me.
Yeah, so next, like, this is happening on Wednesday, so obviously we're going to have all the info for you by next week, but yeah, we don't know when this takes place. I really liked Battlefield 1's aesthetic, with the World War
there
I
have
logo.
been a lot of the purely rumor mill, nothing confirmed at all. A lot of the rumor mill has suggested that we're going back to World War II for Battlefield 5, which I guess makes sense, but I'm looking at a lot of these reveal art, sort of posters and whatnot, and it's very, like, lots of blues. Like, lots of kind of electric blues and clouds, sort of thing.
Futuristic,
maybe? Not necessarily, like, but yeah.
Battle Royale, maybe?
I don't know. That's the thing. It looks very digital. That's all it is. And I would just be so shocked that if, like, a World War II game, like, saw reveals with, like, I mean, it looks like this. It's like the same color palette as this Halls wrapper. It's a lot of electric blues and a lot in the palettes or whatnot. Very, like, industrial grays. And, usually when you see, like, a Battlefield game that's, like, set in World War II, or any game that's set in World War II, it's lots of, like, iron, dirt, fire, like, very, very, like, earthy tones and whatnot. So it's odd to me that if they're going to be releasing about like a World War II game, that they've chosen this color scheme for it. And I know that's a really meta kind of out there observation, but yeah, and maybe they're just going with their generic Battlefield art, and then as soon as the announcement comes, they'll be like, World War II game, and they'll go back to their normal color palette. I'm reaching for straws here, because straws is all we have.
I would put money that there's going to at least be a Battle Royale mode on Battlefield 5. Everything's going Battle Royale.
I mean, I'd be shocked. Battlefield actually was probably the closest to Battle Royale already in terms of its, like, player size and whatnot. I'd be very interested because they've mentioned this, like, through the ages. They've used some vocabulary in a few of their release notes that might suggest to me that Battlefield 5 is going to be a, like, pan-history game. In fact, that's what I'm throwing down for my theory right now. I have no information to go off of except for a few key choices, words that I've kind of come off of in a few things. I, right now, theorize, in some loose sense, that Battlefield 5 will feature a through the ages thing, and the idea that some maps will play in World War II, some maps will play in the modern era, some maps will play in the future or whatnot, and it'll kind of be like almost from a simulation perspective, where it's like your soldiers that plug in to experience the simulations of, like, of battles throughout history or whatnot. And you can, take on... You can fight in orbit from, like, oh yeah, you guys remember that time that we were fighting, the giant thing, and it was, like, coming across, and we had to liberate we had to save Reach from the Covenant, or not that, but you know what I mean. And then there's the other time where it's like, oh yeah, you remember Battle of the Bulge? Go play that. And I'd be really encouraged to see something like that. That would be neat. And if anybody's gonna, that's a ridiculous undertaking. It's absurd. It's quite frankly preposterous.
Preposterous.
But if anybody can do it, it's gonna be DICE. They have the money, they have the people, they have the expertise, and Battlefield has already spanned, from the future to the past, back to the present, forward to the past, never really again to the future. So I think it's a series that's well poised. Only other one would be Call of Duty, to take on one game that spans kind of a history of war.
Yeah, that would be really sick. We got another little tidbit of information here, and that's very minor, but 343 Studios.
Yeah, for a few people this will be important.
And Microsoft, they are
a few thousand.
They are re-releasing the Master Chief Collection again, which is the first 3 Halo games.
The ones that matter.
But this time they're doing it in 4K, of course, and it'll have some nice new features. And they've said that the emphasis is on the local LAN, which is really nice. Because, that was like a big part of my high school experience, was like going to a friend's basement and hooking up, 4 different Xboxes and playing 16-player local LAN.
Yeah,
and I think that they are kind of putting a big emphasis on that to like, yeah, get with your friends, you know, just like in the old days, and you know they're gonna make it. They're like redoing the whole system to make it like just really fast and plug and play, and you know, I think that they're doing that kind of in contrast to all the battle royale online multiplayer stuff. So like, yeah, while everyone else is doing that, let's do this. It's going to be grounded and in the past, and yeah. Meanwhile, they're probably secret working on like a Halo battle royale.
Who knows? Who knows? They're just like, just getting into local. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. That being said, I like it. I like it when people do something different. And honestly, at this point, based on this E3 reveal or this current E3 season, I have to call it an E3 season because we're not at E3. We're not even close to E3 yet, and already Battlefield is being announced well in advance of E3. The leak has taken care of a whole bunch of other things. What's going to be like, is there going to be, like, any E3-centric launches that really matter? There will, I'm sure, because we haven't even touched on our boy Cyberpunk yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so,
that's coming. So,
last week we asked you guys, what did you want to see at E3 2018? And we got some interesting answers, and I'm going to start reading them off. MartyMan641, he's almost never not in the comments section, says, I want to see the next newest Zelda game be announced at E3. Breath of the Wild is a great way to bring back roots from the 2 NES titles. Hopefully for this game it will take another Ocarina of Time feel. I love Twilight Princess, so if we can get another game similar to that, it would be some adventure. That's very interesting because I think that a lot of people don't realize this. Like, I love Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild, you know, I held on to Ocarina of Time and Link to the Past for a long time, but I do think that Breath of the Wild may even be my favorite Zelda game now because it's mine, so big.
But it's also the one I've spent the most time on, so.
It's so open, and I think it really embraced that modern, open world, you know, it's very Skyrim, you know. I think it's great. I do think the one thing that it was missing was like a stronger plot line, of, you know, bigger story. And Ocarina of Time is famous for being the Zelda game with the strongest story. So I can kind of see where Marty Man is coming from. But if we could kind of marry the two ideas so that it was still open world but had a stronger storyline, I think that's obviously it's probably what the next Zelda game will feel like. You know,
I mean, that's going to be the hope. It's simply too soon for another Zelda release, unfortunately, in my mind. I can't imagine Nintendo's going to be like, another Zelda. Be like, we spent 8 years working on this last one, but here we go. You know, that whole thing. That's fair. So that's all good.
Okay, so Angel L Mazda says, I'd like to see BioShock 3. It's such a good game, and who knows what they can do with it. And to which I actually did respond to this right there. I said, I think you mean 4. BioShock 3 was Infinite, and he said, yeah, that's what I thought it was. But people just seem to think Infinite isn't 3, which is interesting because BioShock Infinite...
It's the third BioShock.
It is most definitely BioShock 3. What happened was the creators of BioShock 1 actually went straight from working on BioShock 1 to BioShock 3, and they had a third party work on BioShock 2, and so they were just like, BioShock 2, they didn't come up with a fun title.
It shows.
But, as far as...
Not that BioShock 2 is a bad game, but it was just nothing like 1.
As far as I know, the creator of BioShock left that company, and that company went bankrupt, right? The developer of BioShock?
They're gone, unfortunately.
So, I don't think we're going to see another BioShock unless that he brings those guys together.
No, the license is still owned in a way. You know, somebody is holding on to it and whatnot. And I'm open to the idea that the next BioShock could be BioShock 3, as opposed to 4. I'm not really one of those people that think Infinite needs to be separated for some reason. In my mind, if they call it BioShock 3, it implies, in my mind, that it's at Rapture or has something to do with Rapture, and I think we're done with Rapture.
They did an excellent Rapture story in BioShock Infinite, the DLC, you know,
right.
Death at Sea or Birth at Sea or
yeah.
Something at Sea. Forgive me, I forgot.
The Rapture one. The Rapture one. The one where you go to Rapture.
And that was pretty much a Rapture game in itself, so I think that was fine. I love BioShock, especially the first one. It's one of my favorite games. I would love to see another BioShock, but only if it's done by the same guys, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen. So.
Yeah, it's tough when a team scatters like they do. Sometimes they'll reform years later, or, you know, talent can kind of reconsolidate, but tough time for a BioShock launch. Though I would be relieved to see it. You know, even though it's just another... I need original IPs, guys. Original IPs. Just one.
Yeah.
Just one at E3, please.
Philip Byers talking a good game about Phantasy Star. We have not seen... Like, the last couple games have been Phantasy Star Online games, and I was a big fan of, like, Phantasy Star 1 through 4, like in the old Sega days. Those were basically Sega's Final Fantasy games. Right. And they played a lot like Final Fantasy, and they actually had a couple ideas that because they didn't make a real Phantasy Star after Phantasy Star 4. Final Fantasy kind of adapted some of the good ideas that Phantasy Star 4 had.
Yeah, there was definitely some bleed over in both cases there.
Yeah, but yeah, I would love to see, I know that he's talking about maybe a localized version of Phantasy Star Online too, but I would be so jazzed to see like a Phantasy Star 5 finally, but you know, again, same thing as BioShock. Those guys...
I'd be down, especially considering a lot of people haven't been like over the moon about Final Fantasy recently. I'd love for like, it's very poetic for Phantasy Star to come in and just smash it and release like the best Phantasy Star of all time and take the market back in a big way and challenge Final Fantasy once again to keep up. Must like history's past.
Fabian doesn't have an answer, but he says, hey guys, could you get a professional microphone? The difference between video and sound quality is kind of jarring to listen to, especially if you want to listen to this as a podcast.
Why would you read that? Why would you burn us on screen like that?
I don't know.
I have an expensive mic. It's an area mic. It might be something to do with Rich and I were playing with bitrate stuff. Fabian, I hear you.
It might sound a little better now.
I changed the bit. Well, Rich changed the bit rate, and please comment on whether or not you hear a difference. If not, the show's over. We're scrapping the whole project.
I just want to say one salty comment, and I love Fabian, so I just thought I'd say it.
No, that's good. Fabian's salt is always well contained and very pointless. I'm good with comments that have criticism that like is focused.
Matt Boybin says, I want to see Kingdom Hearts 2.9. No, please.
Please, no more Kingdom Hearts. No, I don't want to catch up on, have to catch up on anything else before 3.
Just
finish 3.
Yeah, just finish
3.
Actually, Kyle Guard says he wants to see a new Fire Emblem, Pokemon, or Sonic game. I think we're probably going to get announcements from all 3 of those franchises, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I'll ignore the Sonic one. Hopefully the Pokemon one is something I can put on my Switch. And Fire Emblem seems incredibly likely.
The Breadman 904 kind of touches on the 8th generation of Pokemon coming to the Switch. I would also be jazzed for, you know, because Pokemon has...
Switch Pokemon would be so excited.
Yeah, the Pokemon games, the main games have always been portable. The only things we've ever gotten on console are like, you know, the stadium games, like big fighting games and stuff. Like, I would love to see a actual Pokemon RPG on a console. Why they've never done it before, I don't understand.
You've told me why they don't do it before. Because the Pokemon games are keeping the mobile market alive, but the 3DS is phasing out of its product cycle.
Now's the time. Now's the time.
They've already... What better time to bring your mobile game into a console than with your console that is also a mobile console?
Yeah.
Yeah. The time seems right.
So that is all of the people that answered our question last week. We have a new question this week. So make sure you leave it in the comment section below right after you give this video a thumbs up. So my question is, in the spirit of Call of Duty Black Ops 4 doing a Battle Royale mode, what major AAA franchise deserves or should have, or you think would just be interesting to have, a Battle Royale
What needs
mode?
A Battle Royale?
Sonic the Hedgehog Battle Royale. Super Mario Battle Royale.
Who was talking the other time about, like, Mario Kart Battle Royale? It was Derek.
Oh, yeah, actually, that would be really cool.
D-Rock was talking about, like, the Mario Kart open world Battle Royale thing and he actually sold it pretty well, and I was actually kind of jazzed on the idea. Anyway, stuff like that. Get me jazzed for your ideas for what's going to break the mold on this Battle Royale thing and bring it to a new level and keep it alive outside of just the shooter genre.
Crash Bandicoot Battle Royale. Yeah, just let us know, what do you think needs a Battle Royale, and leave it in the comments below. And thank you so much once again for watching and or listening to Video Game Talk every Thursday right here on the Rich Alvarez channel. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends to subscribe right here and hit that bell to stay notified. I'm Rich Alvarez.
I'm Garrett Allen.